So this is the story of how I found out that my husband was having an affair with 4 women. 2 of them were my friends and 1 of them was my best friend.
Hey beautiful people, how you are doing today? Check your destiny here and welcome to my channel. How you are doing? Hope you guys are doing great. So today's video is another story time. This one is juicy. Like guys, this could just be the most crazy story you've ever heard on the internet. So you want to watch this video to the end. So this video is a video of a woman who came to share the story of how her husband was cheating on her with 4 women that she know, including her best friend, and how she found out, and how she treated those women, and how those women kind of played in her face, writing her love note, how one of them was literally copying her social media page, and how she found out, and how she could not hold her husband accountable for his actions, and what she did to that best friend that has a husband. Her best friend is married, and her best friend's husband is her husband's best friend. Cheating on. Messy story, guys, messy. And she wanted to talk more on how she was able to heal the process and give in more details of the relationship and where she's at, which I feel like is very important for this story and how the story developed. So let's go check out this story time and then we'll come back and talk. But let me know what you think about the story down in the comment section.
So this is the story of how I found out that my husband was having an affair with 4 women. 2 of them were my friends and 1 of them was my best friend.
What?
Trigger warning, as this story does contain themes of... So if that does upset you, then please scroll on. So I met my first husband in 2006. I was 20 years old and I met him in a place called Jumping Jacks, which was in the bottom floor of a nightclub in Bolton called Icon. If you know, you know. I remember the strobe lighting being on and looking across the dance floor and just seeing the most gorgeous blue eyes and thinking, wow. I come to find out that he's a scaffolder, that everybody knows him. He's just a really friendly guy and just a good guy to be around. I really fell in love with him at the time. We moved in together and within a year I was pregnant, and in 2008 we had our first son. He was followed by a daughter in 2010 and he was a good dad, a hands-on dad. I'm not going to slate him, but he did things that guys do when they're young. He would disappear at weekends, they go drinking, turn his phone off, but when he was there, he was a good dad, and I trusted him. I did trust him implicitly at the time. He never gave me any reason to doubt him. Quite quickly, he set up a car dealing business with his friend, and then eventually he set up a car dealing business with another friend because he wanted to break out on his own. Now, he would go out every single day, every single night, but he always told me where he was. He always came in at the time he said he would come in, and I thought he was building his business. I had no reason not to trust him. In 2012, he asked me to marry him. I was very happy. I said yes, and in 2014, we got married with our 2 children at the wedding. Again, I trusted him. He never gave me any reason not to trust him, apart from an incident maybe in 2015 where, you know, where you're borrowing someone's phone, and I was like, my phone wasn't available at the time, and I said, can I just, I think it was check the weather or something like that, and I was looking at his phone and a message popped up, maybe off of his mum, and I looked at it and I'd said a question as, why did your mum want this, or whatever it was, and he grabbed the phone. He went as white as a sheet and he ran downstairs, and he shut the living room door, and I was banging on the door saying, are you cheating, what's going on? And I think he was probably deleting everything off the phone at that time. He came out and he said it was because he was arranging a surprise for me, and he didn't want me to see. Now, for whatever reason, maybe I had 2 children, we were newly married, I was young and I wanted to believe him. We moved on, and as far as I was concerned, he was trying to build his business. Again, he would come in when he said he would at night, even though he was working every night, maybe till 12, but he said that he was doing paperwork. People still want to come and see cars later on at night after they finish work, and I genuinely believe that he was working for the good of his family. In 2016, he seemed to have gone a little bit more depressed and just wasn't himself, but he had no history of mental health issues, never threatened to do anything. He just seemed a little bit down, and when I asked him why, he said that the business just wasn't doing as well as he thought it would. However, he would catch up. We come to July 2016 and it is my daughter's 6th birthday. So a few days before the birthday, we had an argument again about him going out drinking and not being available on the phone at that time. And I was just wondering what was going on, so we had a huge argument about it. On the Friday, it was my daughter's birthday. We argued again and he ended up staying out the night. I thought he was at his friend's. On the Saturday, I'd still not heard from him. I was very annoyed because he'd not seen my daughter on her 6th birthday. And it came to bath time on the Saturday night. His friend messaged me and asked, have you heard from him? Now, he was never, ever off his phone, ever. So I checked the WhatsApp and this was about 8 o'clock at night and I last saw that he'd been on his phone at 10 a.m. that morning. That instantly rang alarm bells and I don't know why. I just felt like he'd done something and I just knew where he would have done it. I instantly got the kids out of the bath and I told them to get in the car and we drove straight to his garage where he sold cars. On the way I called his business partner and his business partner instantly said, please don't go on your own. Pick up his girlfriend at the time and take her with you. So I went and I picked her up and she came with me. When we got there, I left the children in the car and I walked down the lane and it looked closed and it had like a hockey puck lock on the door. And I thought it was locked at the time and I couldn't get in. So I called the police and I said, I think that my husband might be in there and I need somebody down here. They then put him as a missing person. When you call the police, they basically tier them as what kind of missing person they are, whether they need immediate attention or whether they're high risk, low risk. They put him as a middle risk because I did say that he had been struggling with work. They advised me to go home and wait for a police officer to come. So I went home with the 2 children and I waited. A police officer came and he took a statement and he asked me, could he have any other women on the go? Could he be anywhere that you don't know about? And I said, absolutely not. There is no way. He loves his family. He adores me and he would never do that to us. The police officer left and he was calling round his friends at the time. And I tried to just go to sleep, hoping that maybe he just disappeared for a bit. Maybe he needed some time for himself. And yeah, I just tried to sleep as best I could and hopefully wait for better news. At about 2 a.m, my phone rang and it was a private number and I answered it and it was a woman. And she asked me for my husband's best friend's phone number. And I said, why do you want it? And she said, I just need it, please. Can I have it? And I said, who are you? And she wouldn't say a name and I just said, have you been seeing my husband? And she said yes. And I said, how long has it been going on? And she said, 2 years. And I said, did you know about me and my children? And she said yes. So he had been seeing her for 2 years. This began 2 months before we got married. I was absolutely devastated. I called my friend. I called my mum. Both my mum and my friend come round. Thankfully they did, because about half an hour after they both walked through the door, I got the phone call from his friend, his best friend, who said that unfortunately he had been found in his car dealing unit. I think I screamed and made a sound that I didn't think the human body was probably capable of making. My whole world had fallen apart in the space of an hour. I then had the policeman who dealt with the missing person case come back, and he told me that how he'd been found, and that his best friend and his friends knew about this other woman. The reason that they knew about this other woman is because his best friend was also seeing her before my husband was seeing her, and that's how my husband met her. Wow. His best friend was also my best friend's boyfriend. I then, at the age of 29, had to deal with 2 children who had just lost their dad. I had to deal with a funeral. I'd never dealt with anything like that before. And obviously your friends rally around you, and that's what they did, particularly my best friend, who again was his best friend, the guy who'd found him, his girlfriend. She was with me when we went to say goodbye. I was very scared to say goodbye to him. I was scared of what he would look like, and obviously I'd never seen anything like that before, and it took me maybe a week and a half to go, but I eventually went, and I asked her to come with me, and as I saw him I dropped to the floor crying. She was the first one who, she went over and she kissed him and she hugged him, and at the time I thought it was because she was his friend too. They used to play poker every Thursday in the pub, and I used to laugh saying my best friend is going on a date with him, and that he was taking her out on a date. And yeah, she got to say goodbye. She hugged him, kissed him, and then I came over and I hugged him and I kissed him and got to say goodbye. I'm going to have to go into a part 2 of how I found out about the rest of them and was hit with the worst betrayal that you could ever imagine. So this is my best friend. I relied on her for everything. There was 3 of us. I had another best friend, and it was just us 3 together. Like I said, because she was his best friend's girlfriend, we spent so much time together, and she helped me plan the funeral. She came with me to visit the priest. We picked music together of what he was going to have, and she really involved herself in that time. I remember the hearse coming round and seeing the flowers with Daddy on the day of the funeral, and obviously I was crying, I was upset, but she was really upset, and I was thinking, God, they must have been really good friends. At this point, there are rumours flying around, and I remember the first time that I'd heard this rumour, we'd gone for a few drinks, I'd tried to take my mind off it, and another friend that I knew said, well, this rumour's going around, and my best friend got so upset. She was really upset, and I remember saying to her, that's absolutely ridiculous, and you'd know that when I get his phone back from police, well, it's going to be in there, so there's just no way, you wouldn't be that stupid. And she was so convincing. She was like, exactly, I'm so upset that people would think this of me. At this time, the police were asking me, did I know his password? I was saying that I didn't know his password. I actually didn't, because he would change it all the time, which is another red flag, which I shouldn't have let go. But he used to say that his friends will get hold of his phone and they'll take pictures and just do silly stuff on it. This was a grown man at the time, and I believed him. I did, however, know his Apple ID and login, and I didn't want to tell the police that because I thought that that was my right, it was my property, I was next of kin, and I didn't want them wiping anything. I wanted my own answers, and I wanted to find out what happened myself. So at this time I had really complicated feelings, because obviously I found out he'd been cheating on me, he'd been having an affair for 2 years behind my back, and I had no idea. This woman just lived on the other side of town, and I had no idea about her whatsoever. She knew everything about me and had been stalking me for 2 years, and I had no clue. When I eventually looked at her Instagram, it was exactly the same as mine. It mirrored mine in exactly the same way. She would do things that I would do, such as bake cakes, make pelmets. She'd based her entire personality on me, and I had no idea. I did, however, still give him a lovely funeral and a lovely send-off, and was still very respectful of him at that point, because I did still love him. Obviously, I never got to confront him about what he'd done to me, so it was very, very complicated, mixed feelings for me. Life went on, and 3 months later, I met another man, who was a whole other story. He was my saviour, everything that I needed. And I felt that I had no loyalties to my husband anymore, because he'd just done me so dirty, basically. It was kind of a gift that I did. I felt that I could move on quicker. I would never have moved on had I not known what he was doing. But it was like a parting gift that he gave me in a way that made it a bit easier for me. 3 months later, I then get his phone back from the police. I turned it on, And I started scrolling through all the messages, and one of the messages that came up was from my best friend. When they were going to poker every Thursday, they were meeting up and doing things in the car, behind his best friend's back and my back also. This had been going on for months. I carried on scrolling, I looked through some other messages. The next message that I found was where he'd been meeting up with a girl who was my son's friend's mum. She had done my hair for my wedding, so she was also a friend and acquaintance, somebody who would be friendly with me, and she was also meeting up with him. Wow. Another girl was his business partner's daughter, who we had just been on a big holiday with as a big group, and her husband was also his friend, and she was also somebody that I would have considered a friend. I then messaged my best friend and just told her never to speak to me ever again, and I walked away, and she just said, I'm sorry, and that was that. And to this day, I've never ever had it out with her. I've never had closure with any of them. I've never really been able to ask them why they did that, but they have to live with that for the rest of their lives. I would never do that to another woman, and I think that if you do that behind another woman's back, with a man that you know is married, with a man you know has a family, has children, you are nothing but a scumbag. The betrayal and the pain that I felt was indescribable. But as sad as this is to say, it kind of gave me an out, because I think when people themselves, people around them, especially their family, their friends, they look for somebody to blame. They want to have a reason. Sometimes there is no reason. And people would have blamed me had he not been doing what he was doing. I decided though that I was just going to move on with my life. I had 2 children to think about, and I had to remain dignified. I wasn't going to do anything that I regretted, that was going to harm myself, harm my children. I just wanted to move on with my life, and it took me a long time to forgive him for what he did. I mean, I'm now 8 years down the line, 9 years down the line, nearly 9 years, and it's taken me to now really to start processing everything that I've been through, and grief has no timeline, and people go back for grief counselling years and years later because it doesn't hit them until years later. And like I said, because I met somebody quite quickly, we then got married, we had another child. I didn't really deal with it, and I'm only just dealing with it now. So that's my story. There is a lot more to the story, really, a lot more details that I could and probably will go into at some point. But I just hope that I can help people with this TikTok. It's taken me a long time to speak out about what I went through, and I just want to help other grieving mothers. My children are amazing. And I'd like to speak more on that and how you can help children who have been through the loss of a parent. And if you watch the whole thing, thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. So I think people are getting confused with sword fighting husband. That is husband number 2. And I met him 3 months after my first husband passed away. I was obviously in an extremely vulnerable place with 2 small children, and he was promising to take care of me, take care of the children, and I thought he was a really good guy at first, but as you can tell, my judgment obviously is not the best. I obviously had issues with trust, but he presented himself as somebody who could be trusted, like many of these men do, and he had my life and my children's lives in his hands at the time. He was a footballer, so we had moved already twice across the country and then down south, and I really wanted to support him through his career, and I was ready to get away from the area that I lived for obvious reasons. This incident was after we'd been together maybe a year, and he went away on international break to another country and disappeared for a night, and then the next day made out like I was the one who was crazy. Obviously I was upset that he had disappeared, asking him where he was, and he made out that I was too much for asking him where he was and wanting to know what he had been up to the night before. There were times in that relationship where I felt like I was going insane, and obviously because of what I'd been through, you don't know what is real, and if you get the right type of person, they will definitely play on that. If you want to know more about the story, then follow me and I will talk more on it as time goes on. So here's how I got revenge on the 4 women who I found out that my husband had been cheating on me with after he unalived himself. 3 of those women were my friends. So the first one that I will speak about was the girl who was my best friend. Now, she held my hand at that funeral. She inserted herself right at the front with me, and I really did lean on her for support at that time, which, considering what she'd done to me, was just even more of a betrayal. She now works in a high school, and when I tell you, it has kept me awake at night, thinking about what I could do to ruin all of them. At the time, I wanted to ruin all of them. I wanted to ruin their lives the way they'd ruined mine. I was thinking about laminating posters, sticking them around the area, leafleting outside, taking out an advert on a plane and having it fly over the top of the high school. Anything to get the word out there, send letters to the staff of what she had actually done to me. Now, as I said in my previous video, what I did do was I messaged her and I said, don't ever speak to me ever again. And she just said, I'm sorry. And I never even told her family at the time, and I really wish that I had. So by some grace of God, I am hoping that maybe this TikTok will find them and they will find out what she did. The second girl was the girl he'd been having a 2-year affair with, who lived on the other side of town. What she did was a disgrace. She, after his death, was calling herself his girlfriend. She put pictures of them all over her social media. She wrote a personal letter about their relationship, how in love they were, and she hand-delivered that to my address. She did everything to try and steal the grief thief, I think is the actual word for a woman like her, amongst a lot of other words. She couldn't just let me grieve in peace. She couldn't let me be a mother to my children, and on top of what she'd done, that is just unforgivable. The third girl was a girl that was my young son's friend at school, his mum. She was a hairdresser. She did my hair for my wedding. She had her own mental health issues going on. So I'm not going to say too much about her, not that it's inexcusable. However, she knew what she was doing at the time. I'm not going to chuck around the word village bike, but those words would be appropriate. The fourth woman was the business partner's daughter, who was his friend's wife, the one who we had just been on holiday with for 2 weeks, just a couple of months before. And it ended her marriage. I did have to send the messages to her husband. I did feel guilty because they had children the same age. The children were friends with my children. And I did feel a little bit of guilt. However, I could not carry that guilt myself. And I came to realise that that was her burden to bear, not mine. I'm sure everybody wants to hear that I went round there and smashed cars up and egged their houses and caused some real physical damage to some of them, but I really didn't have the energy at the time. I didn't have the energy, and I truly believed that moving on would be the best revenge that I could have. I couldn't live with that bitterness in my heart. I couldn't live with that hatred in my heart. And I just knew that I didn't have those kind of morals. I wasn't that kind of person, and them being those kind of people already meant that they were losers in life. They were already horrible, bad people, and I truly believe in karma. I knew that life was not going to be easy for women like that. Not that I'm only blaming the women. He obviously did have a big hand in it, and I will do another story about his mental health at the time and how what happened unfolded. And if you're going through this at the minute, or have you been through it in the past, understand that when people cheat, it is not you. You could be the most amazing person to them. You could be beautiful. It's nothing to do with looks. You could be successful. You could have great morals. You could be loyal. You could treat them the best ever, and they will still do these things to you. Because there's something missing in them. It is literally nothing to do with you and how you treat them. So if you are going through this currently, or if you've been through it in the past, walk away, hold your head high, stay dignified, keep your morals correct, and have a good life. That's the best revenge that you can give to anyone. This is something that I don't think cheaters understand, that it actually causes trauma within your body. It changes your brain chemistry. I have a close group of friends now, and I still have a couple of friends that I would really trust with my life. I would trust with my partner. But I remember getting that phone back and having to go through these messages, and I remember having to read my sister's message. I'm thinking, please, God, do not find anything in these messages. And that was the same for every single one of my friends that he had messaged for whatever reason, because we were married. I had to go through each one, just praying that they wouldn't be next. But these people are seriously damaged people. Just know that it isn't you, it is definitely them. Here's the story of how my husband met his mistress of 2 years that I only found out about after he himself, and what she subsequently did after. You're probably all wondering why I'm wearing a dressing gown and headband. I've had so many girls ask me what my makeup routine is, which makeup I use. However, I know that you're all here for the tea, so I'm going to do my makeup whilst I tell you this story. I also think that people are a bit confused about how he managed to get away with this for so long. And people have to understand that he was a car dealer, he had the gift of the gab, he was very charming, he could sell ice to Eskimos. And I really did believe that he truly was in love with me. We were the perfect 2.4 family, and I never doubted him for a second. In fact, I think if you'd have asked me the question, if you can win £1 million if you get this answer right, has your husband ever cheated on you, looked at another woman, I would have said absolutely not. So the foundation I use is Huda Beauty in Latte 300N. So my husband never had any social media, and I remember one night looking over his shoulder and seeing that he had Facebook open on his phone. However, it wasn't his own Facebook, it was actually his best friend's Facebook. And I was thinking that was really weird, and I said, why are you on your friend's Facebook? And he was like, I just enjoy having a look, but I don't want to get my own Facebook yet. And I thought it was kind of a plausible thing to say. He was quite a private person, now I know why. And I never pressed any more on that, really. This was around 2 months before we got married. I was busy with the wedding. We were getting married abroad in Cyprus, and I was busy thinking about that. We then got married, and life just went on. He was building his business, as I've said on previous videos. He would go out every day, he would work every day. Somebody said, oh, well, he turned his phone off, and you didn't realise. No, he never turned his phone off. When he was at home, you have to understand, a car dealer, they have people ringing all the time, so he would put it on silent. And he would just work every single day, every single night in the evening, but he would always be home every time he said that he would be home. If you watch my previous videos, you will then see how I found out that he was having an affair with a woman across town that he had been seeing for 2 years, and it began 2 months before we got married. This was around the time that he was using his friend's Facebook. Now, as you do, if a man's been cheating, or if anything bad's happened to you involving another woman, one of the first things you do is you jump straight online and you want to have a look at their social media. You want to see who this girl is. I wanted to know, did she know about me? How long she knew about me? Were there any pictures online? So it took me about a week, but I plucked up the courage to look at her social media. Now, I don't know if anybody's seen the film Fatal Attraction, but her life resembled something like that. she was stalking me. Her social media was exactly the same as mine. She was taking pictures that he didn't know about, such as the back of his head on days out. He looked like he was stood on a chair, maybe putting up a TV or something for it. It was like the bottom of his legs. She was just trying to put it out there that she had this man, but didn't. He'd obviously said, don't put my face on these pictures. I then wanted to find out how he met this girl, how he knew her, had he been out with her, did anybody else that I knew know about her. What I use on my brows is Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade in dark brown. I come to find out that his best friend, whose girlfriend is my best friend, and if you've watched the previous stories, you will know all about her. She was also having an affair with him. His best friend was seeing this girl behind his girlfriend, who was my best friend's back, and that is how he met her. So I think from now on I'll refer to her as Glenn, for Glenn Close. If you haven't seen Fatal Attraction, go and watch it. It's a great film. I don't know if Glenn was some professional mistress, if she advertised herself somewhere. I'm not sure, but they did manage to find her somehow, and she hopped from one friend to another. Now, I did see somebody in the comments say, she was seeing him for 2 years, so she's going to be upset as well. Now, she had every right to be upset. 2 years is a long time, and whatever delusion she had about their relationship were her to have. However, I was his wife. I had 2 children, and she made my life very difficult. She sent, as I said previously, a handwritten letter with details about their relationship, basically mocking me, mocking my children, through my door. I went to lay flowers. There were already flowers and a letter written by her laid down there. She stalked me afterwards. She knew where I used to go with my friends, and she turned up there one night and then stormed out of there crying after she saw me. She turned up to the funeral. However, she was just outside. I didn't see her because we told her that she was banned from the funeral. But she was outside. If I'd have seen her, I don't know what I would have done. The messages that I had to read through referred a lot to this one particular bag that she wanted, that I had received for Christmas from my husband, and she had been sending him these messages, basically saying what size she wanted, where she wanted the smaller size, the bigger size, and I believe it looked like in a threatening way, more in a blackmail type of way. I then heard that after he died, she went to the pub with her friends and actually did say to her dad, well, I guess I'm not going to get that bag anymore. And her dad had to say back to her, well, I won't be buying it for you. The concealer that I use is the Rimmel Multitasker. Now, I used to wear very expensive Estee Lauder concealer. This one is just as good and is a fraction of the price. So you can imagine how upset I was hearing that. That was my husband, and she was treating him like some sort of bank, like a cash cow. And I could see in the messages she was saying, can we go here, can we go there? She was seeing all that she could get out of him, and knew that he was terrified that I would find out. Now, this has taken me years to speak on. As I said previously, I do have 2 teenagers now. They do know the full story, which is why it's taken me so long. I wanted them to know the story before I started telling anybody else. I've had so many messages of people asking me how the children have dealt with it, and I will do a story about that soon. The comments have been so supportive and amazing, more than I could ever have hoped for. The private messages I've had have been heartbreaking, and I have cried at some of them, and you just don't realise how prevalent cheating is, and as I've said before, how traumatic it is. As I said, I am in therapy. I have been diagnosed with complex PTSD, but there is life after something like this has happened. Even cheating, just as I've said, standard cheating, very traumatic, very painful, and can blow your life apart in an instant. The last thing I'll show you is the lip combo, because that is the most requested that people have asked. This is Huda Beauty in Deep Rose. The lipstick that I use is MAC Modesty, and the lip oil that I use over the top is a cheap Amazon one. I actually thought that I was buying the Avon one, which I really, really like. So I bought this by accident, but I think it's better and it's cheaper. So if you just type in Amazon lip oil, this is the one, it should come up. Again, thank you for listening, and keep the comments coming, keep the questions coming, because I will try and answer as many as I can.
Wow. Whoa. Please go down in the comment section, share your thought about the story down in the comment section. But as always, please keep it respectful. You're on this channel, we're here to have conversation. So please be respectful down in the comment section, okay? We're here just for conversation, okay? Whoa, I don't have words to say about this story. And clearly she's in the UK, and you could clearly tell that, because some people think that cheating is a particular type of man or region of men that cheat. Oh, and this type, these ones they don't cheat. This one, yeah, no, no. Men are men everywhere, and the ones that want to cheat will cheat. And this story, I think I've told this story a couple of times here on this channel. This story reminds me, and this is something that happened. I like talking about my society because that's something I know, and that's where I grew up a lot. This is something that is very prevalent in my society, where you see a man marry, has a wife, a full family at home, and then something will happen to him. Maybe he will die, and then the next minute another family he has somewhere else will come and say, yes, we have a full family here. He has another family somewhere. He wanted to keep it private, and that is it. But this is where I would really want, as women, let's talk, because it takes like a lot of, I know, yes, naturally we're raised to be in competition with each other, we're raised to get the attention. Getting a man is the prize, whether it means you have to step on another woman, take another woman's man. The goal is to get a man. I know that is how it's been programmed. We're in competition with each other always just for the attention of men. Yes, rather than the competition for other good things that will make us strive and be better, we're in competition for attention of men, and I get it. But when I see women that knows that a man has a wife or a girlfriend, and you're still actively being in a relationship with that man, for me that says a lot about you and your person, for you to bring yourself to that place where you still have relationship with a man that has, because what makes you feel like what he's doing to his girlfriend or wife, he won't do it to you. And even the safety precautions that comes with it, the best friend's wife, like you have your husband, you know how it will feel if you find out that somebody's sleeping with your husband, but you are doing it to somebody else, and this person is also your friend, your best friend. For me, that just take another level. Like, what will make, I need you guys help on this, what will make a woman, because I really want to understand what will make a woman, because I get it that we're in competition, they've pitched us against each other. We are trying to get the men's attention, especially the ones that has not unlearned a lot of things. But what will make a woman do same thing that she knows if it's done to her, she won't like it, she can't take it, she will break down, it will traumatize her. Why will you do it to another woman? Especially doing it to your sister, to your friend, to, like, why? Why? Allow this man to play you and play your friend? Why will you do that? I can't really understand that. And I know that comes from women that have low self-esteem, low vibration. They seek the validation of just being a man. They're pick me. I get it, but not with people close. I still don't understand that comprehension of you being with somebody that is like sleeping with somebody that is close to you, husband, man. Why? And then you have your own man. Why? And I'm happy this lady is, she's actually sharing her story and helping other people, because one thing she also talking about how trauma shows up in a different way, how grief shows up in different way, and there's no time limit. That's that's so true. And this is why when we talk here on this channel, we usually talk about how we should learn how to heal our trauma, because that also helps us to know, like, that helps us to flourish in the future. Because if you don't deal with the trauma, it becomes a baggage that you carry around, and subconsciously it affects everything that goes on around you, and how you respond to things, and how you see life, and how you treat life, and that's why, and how you even treat yourself. And that's why it's very important to identify those traumas. It can be childhood trauma, marriage trauma, relationship trauma, friendship trauma. Identify those trauma and work on them. so you can be a better version of yourself for yourself. Anyway, guys, I'm happy she's healing and I'm happy our kids are doing well. But yeah, let me know your own take down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We are banging conversation. So go on and share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push out my content for more people to see, and that will be you supporting this channel and this girl here. So go on and do that. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.